Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we have invited industry leaders from Asia Pacific regions to share their insights and successful use cases across various industries. First, let's welcome Dr. John Lee, CEO and founder of Visio Technologies, to present the topic of Next Generation 3D Modeling, Live Digital Twins and Virtual Reality.
Hi, morning everyone. My name is John. I came from Singapore. Today my topic is going to cover 3D. I believe everybody is familiar with 3D, but at the end of the day, I think the teething problem with the industry is with regards to creating 3D content and visualizing it for everyone. So the current approach is buying expensive equipment, getting a lot of people doing modeling, and learning a lot of software. Today, we think AI play a space. AI could possibly give us a level playing ground. By leveraging on AI and deep learning, we are able to produce the entire model of Singapore in under 14 days. I'm not talking about white block models. I'm talking about high fidelity LOD, 2 or 3 level models. So, without much ado, let me go into a quick introduction about myself and the company. Okay. So I've graduated from Cambridge. I've been in the computer graphics field for the last 30 plus years. And I'm also the inventor of 500 plus patent. I've started company in UK, China, and Singapore. My first company was funded by SoftBank. Guangdong Kangyun is a company I started 3 years ago in China. And recently I came back to Singapore to start our global office, Visio, so to cater to all the Western market. Okay, let me play a video about what the company does. So this video will give you a glimpse of, we using AI and advanced machines to capture anything as small as an object to space to city. Let me play the video. that are using our solution or leveraging on our technology to build 3D content. So I am also the patent owner of 532 patents pertaining to 3D and mapping object, scanning object, mapping spaces, and scanning city. Some of these patents has been filed in USPTO, some of which in China. So to date, we are also going to file 2 more important patents pertaining to mapping the entire planet Earth using satellite. So 54 more patents will be filed in 2021. So we are also very privileged to have won the China, one of the China's most prestigious competition, 中国创新创业大赛 2019, in the category of AI and advanced manufacturing. In the mature category, we won, in that same year, we won Guangzhou City Champion, Guangdong Provincial Champion, and later on, National Champion. So these are some of the accolades and awards that we have won in the last 2 years with China, with the China entity. So this chronicles the milestone of the company. I will give you a quick overview. Okay, essentially, we are about creating software and hardware solution, a platform for you to rapid capture 3D, whether you're scanning an object, mapping an indoor or outdoor space, or you're doing an entire city modeling. And then we help you to visualize your models, your 3D across any browser, any resolution, any dimension. So essentially, visual is about hardware and software stack that allows you to perform 3D capture and visualization. Okay, the laborious process when it comes to 3D, creating 3D with humans and machine, we are trying to reinvent and create a new innovative solution that take away the human out of the loop from creating and producing 3D content. So imagine this box is a deep learning AI box that has all our algorithms that understands and process point cloud data into mesh and beam and all 27 different 3D document format. So in a nutshell, this machine is replacing humans to do the modeling work. All the data that you captured from machines and from software can be ingested into this server to convert it into all the various formats that you can use in your future project. So rather than having 1,000 people doing modeling work, 1,000 people polishing model, 1,000 people flying drones to do photogrammetry, those data can be captured and integrated into this machine, and it does the magic to convert those raw data into polished 3D model that you could use in your future 3D projects. So to give you a quick overview of what we have done, for the 3 different categories of scanning. First, when we deal with object scanning, big and small, we have an automated process that does capturing of object of different size and dimension, from something as small as a cup to as big as a car or a plane. So this thing does heavy processing on the edge. It has AI and embedded GPU that does the processing and convert those data into a 3D model. And this is another category of device that does indoor and outdoor mapping. Imagine the Faro and Leica of the world, but what differentiates us from the rest is we scan faster, we process the data faster, and we require lesser human effort to do the processing and modeling. And this is by virtue of the fact that most of this machine here has an embedded GPU that does the heavy processing and lifting, so that when it reaches the server, the final lab to process into the polished model is already been done mostly at the edge. So this is we don't build the drone, so this is something that we use to scan and map cities, but for larger scale city mapping, we have another solution which uses satellite. So we have embedded GPU in this high definition optics, 500 million megapixel, that allows you to take photogrammetry, pictures and imagery, and we convert those into 3D model. So the future of scanning will be, automated, autonomous. We are also prototyping a solution where robotic solution is going to scan areas where, like example, construction sites, and you could essentially replace humans to do the modeling, as long as we map the sensors on top. And this robotic machine knows how to navigate its way out and do the mapping of the entire construction site or maybe an industrial park, etc. So, and then it will bring the data back to the server to do the heavy processing again. Okay, so visual essentially is about modeling object, scanning object, mapping indoor, outdoor, massive scale, right? And also entire city modeling. For modeling city, for scanning city, I believe every one of you are probably familiar with photogrammetry, but we have a better solution, a faster way of modeling city without using drone, which I'll later share with you. So this particular machine is built purposefully for scanning object on a larger, scale, right? So imagine you were to clone and model thousands of your artifacts. So if you're going to do it by the human labor way, it's going to be tough. So we have invented and created a machine that automates the whole process. Every 3 minutes, it will scan one object. And the data is fed into the server. The server will process the data into 3D model, which you could use in all your future 3D projects. But for the consumer, for people like you and me on the street, but men in the street, we also have another innovative solution that doesn't require LiDAR and complex machinery or server. We just need you to take 15-second video of the object in front of you and feed that video into a server. And we will in turn generate into a 3D model for you to use. And that model will be delivered to you as a URL, as a browser link. Everybody knows how to use a browser. There's zero training zero training for using browser. So there's no need to use AR to VR to look at 3D object. The browser is the most natural link. So anybody with a handphone could just upload 15-second video to my platform, and I will create a 3D model and give you a link, which you can share, distribute, and use it in all your social media and website. So this is a platform which I'm talking about. Essentially, you could take 15-second video of anything in front of you, and you upload to a website, which take in your 3D, which take in your 15-second video. The AI behind has an intelligent algorithm that picks up the best photos and videos and frames taken from the 15-second source, and we will convert it into a 3D model, a high-definition 3D model. And we also allow a simple editing platform for you to do editing if you want to do post-processing filters and shaders, etc. So anyone essentially can be a 3D modeler by uploading a 15-second video to a platform. Today, with 5G in abundance, we think that what is going to generate the next internet revolution is not going to be another 8K video, because the human eye can't discern between the 8K video and a 4K video. We think with so much bandwidth available, we want people to easily create 3D content and easily distribute and share 3D content. I think a platform is needed, and an easy way to model this, model anything, using a handphone. We think that solution is best fit for men in the street, for people who are not familiar with technology, expensive and complicated scanning machine. We are planning to launch this with Huawei at the end of this year. So it's going to be a cloud-based SaaS platform where we allow anyone with a phone who wants to capture the video, a 3D model, to upload the 3D model to the platform. And we will do the heavy processing, heavy lifting, and then deliver a model to you as a URL link. So imagine scanning anything, right? Anything from small object to as big as a car. So this is all delivered on a browser. So you can imagine e-commerce, buying experience, advertisement will change on the web. The web is moving from flat 2D media to a 3D interactive media. So buying a car experience could drastically change from just looking at pictures and video to an interactive 3D content delivered over 5G or 4G. Right? So for scanning indoor, we have a solution that does use our scanner to do the mapping and scanning of indoor and outdoor spaces. And one peculiar feature that we have in our solution is that besides delivering you a 3D model of a space, notice that when I look around and walk around inside the 3D space which I scan, I'm giving you live, real-time situation awareness on the ground. See all this video. See all these people are moving and animating as I walk inside, navigate inside the space. This is all powered using browser. There's no apps to install, right? So what we have done is we cleverly take a 3D, we took a video feed from any of your CCTV, and we ingest this video, convert it into a 3D model, and stitch it inside our 3D space, such that when you navigate and walk around inside a space, you'll be seeing everything live. I would say this is a unique patent that we have filed. Today, you are probably familiar with Google Street View and all the 3D scanning solution from Matterport, etc. But you probably have not seen something like this, right? Where when you walk around inside a space, you'll be seeing everything live, not just for indoor, but also for outdoor. So this is something that we did with the Guangzhou Police, the counterintelligence unit, where we showcase how a video could be ingested into a 3D space, and then giving them real-time situation awareness on the ground when they do their patrolling. So we are also bringing the solution to the Western market, particularly with Singapore and the police and defense unit. But just imagine this opens up a new way of creating 3D content, not just static content. That's why we coined this thing live digital twin. A digital twin that is live, meaning a video that is inside, that is cleverly converted into 3D space, so that when you walk around in the space, you'll be seeing everything live. Recently, we have been approached by some entertainment company, events company, hoping to leverage on this technology, to create a COVID-friendly solution. Because with COVID, destroying a lot of economies and hurting the events business, people are thinking of what are the innovative way that I can capture live, what is actually on the ground, to replicate it to give you a glimpse of potentially. Where you can participate in this event anywhere in the world, but without physically being there. So, and also another entertainment company has came to us to possibly explore ways of delivering a live 3D concert. So imagine, you go into a studio, pre-recorded, your idols are all there, and they perform a show, and then you push it live and broadcast it in a 3D immersive, space like this. And fans who are willing to pay extra dollars could walk up close and personal and look at their idol. So this is something that we are exploring constantly. Not just giving you a 3D map area or scan area, but also delivering 3D in a way that you could, see all the space and also see what is happening actually on the ground at that instant in real time. Okay. So I'll let this video play and then we will continue. So essentially, the whole 3D mapping comes alive with video ingested live into the space, whether you're looking from indoor or outdoor. So that video the video props could give you many use cases and also many applications for such a technology, not just for security and surveillance. Okay, so the term live digital twin is not just for seeing everything live, but you could also interact with the object inside the space. In this case, I click on the button to activate the robot to pick up something from the shelf and put it on the desk. So this is unheard of. While I scan the space, when I walk around, immerse myself looking around, I could essentially trigger some sensors and activate object inside my 3D scene. So we are trying to pioneer a way of creating new internet content that is immersive, that is 3D, that is live, that is interactive, right? Without using a lot of human labor. All these are scanned environment which we scan. And ingesting video into the platform to convert them into interactive 3D, this is something that we have done many times for many, many different industries. So the space that we scan, there is also an innovative application for it. Today, we have customers who are integrating such a solution into their visitor management system, where they could essentially, if people who come visit someone in the office, they'll be given a dynamically generated QR code. By scanning the code, we opens up a browser, and the browser will show you a live 3D space that we scan, and an arrow will point you to the direction, audio guide by guide direction to the destination that you want. So there's a lot of interesting and innovative application we are exploring with creating such a 3D content right now. So last part, so we talk about scanning object, we talk about mapping indoor, outdoor. Now let's talk about scanning cities. So today, with cities, I think Singapore is possibly one of the smallest cities in the world. It is about 721 square kilometers. We were entrusted with a project last year to map out model the entire Singapore. And that was during COVID. We managed to do it all, in lockup without using anybody on the ground. We were able to model the entire Singapore model in under 2 weeks using algorithms and AI. So we have a technology that leverages on 64 sources of data, including satellite imagery, and provide you a high-definition model of every city, modeled and computed by AI and by algorithm, without physically sending a drone across. Okay, so essentially we have another cutting-edge technology, possibly you have not seen anywhere, but it doesn't use drones to map city. Essentially, it's leveraging on some data sources from geospatial, and open source data, and also low-orbit flying satellite. Today, we term this GeoEarth 3D, and the algorithm is still running. Essentially, it's computing machine that goes compute modeling data of cities, and we think that we can complete the entire planet Earth covering 10,000 plus cities in 4 years. Let's have a look at how this thing is going to change and revolutionize 3D. So this is modeling Singapore, and you can see that it's not just a flat 2D model, it's an entire high fidelity LOD 3 level of Singapore model. And we have done many other countries, particularly the European countries, and also Asian countries like Taiwan and stuff. And all this is done in closed door, computed by machines, computed by AI, computed by algorithms, without drones. So there's no human effort involved in flying drones across modeling the entire city. I take an example. The Singapore model, we all know Singapore is about 721 square kilometers. It was done by algorithms and AI and computed in under 2 weeks. And we deliver the model to our customer. And they use it in their command center for real-time situation awareness and for planning. So I guess this is a revolutionary new approach to modeling city. We think that this is going to change how photogrammetry for drones capturing cities. We think that we have a better way of capturing big masses, ultra-fast modeling of cities using algorithm. So we are able to create dimensionally accurate city models using AI and algorithms, right down to plus minus 15 centimeter accurate across all axes. So today we have done the entire metropolitan Tokyo. Every city, every block, every building, every car, every road is all modeled using algorithms and using satellite imagery. So London, likewise, we have also completed the entire London. So we are doing this for a master planner. This centerpiece of the building is not built yet. So he wants to visualize how this center building looks like, and do a bit of simulation, how it looks like in a 3D setting of London. So for Singapore, I guess, I think, you are also familiar with Singapore. We work with some local government agency to provide a 3D model of the entire Singapore so that they could use it in their operations and controls and security and surveillance. So this is modeling the entire Singapore and using the model to help police track their people on the ground, and also using the model to help construction companies, government agencies to monitor facilities such as lift, elevators. So in this case, you're looking at a 5 fidelity model of Singapore where it's all generated by AI algorithms, and we can zoom down to one of the building example, right? And we will give you another layer of clarity, right down to beam and also individual room, etc. So the customer is using this for real-time ingestion of data from lift, elevators, from CCTV, from sensors, from IoT sensors, and from all sorts of data. And he's using this as a platform, as a 3D platform for all their operation, for all their police and surveillance operation. So in this particular case, you could also see we are giving you the MAP and the BIM structures, but we are also layering heat map data on workspace management, sustainability, onto a building, right? And all those, moving dots, these are tracking people, the police and the fleet on the roads. So you can see another example. While we walk around inside a space, you'll be seeing all these things live. Right? Immersive 3D data, they are all live. So again, it's not just, the live part is not just pertaining to indoor, for outdoor as well. When you walk around inside, on the road, when you immerse yourself, walk around, you'll be seeing all this live, because we cleverly took the CCTV camera feed from the ground and ingest it into the 3D map, and to give you the real-time situation awareness on the ground. So this is another building which we scan. So the whole external facade and building is all done by satellites and geospatial sources. The internal of the building, the heat map, the MEP, the beam, these are all captured by a human. So they brought our machines to go to scan the indoors, and then you have a highly polished 3D model. And the whole process to scan the 7-story only took us about 4 hours to create a virtual immersive 3D tour like this. And then ingesting video gives you, live feed on the ground while you walk around and do your your security tasks. So when we show you the video, it's not just an video, it's an interactive 3D model on big screen and small screen. We can also assure you that all this visualization of the interactive 3D content can also be shown and replicable on a mobile device like your iPhone and your iPad, streaming millions of polygons over the network to any CPU-constrained devices. And you could see the whole city in high-fidelity 3D model. So another interesting technology which we want to highlight to you is that besides teaching video inside an indoor space, you could see here there is a man walking towards the truck, the vehicle parked stationary there. And there's a group of teenagers loitering around the main gate and a car moving towards there. So this is done by having a video installed high up on a building, and we took the video live feed and stitched it inside a 3D model like this. While you interact with a 3D model, you'll be seeing all these things live. This has never been done before, and I think it has huge application for security and surveillance. So again, if you're going to ingest video analytics, you potentially could see a lot more clarity and a lot more information. For example, you could zoom into this part of the building and you could see human people walking on the ground. And with video analytics, you could layer additional information about maybe there's a male or female, what's the approximate height, what clothes it's wear, the license plates of the car. This is all possible today. Okay, the last bit of my presentation, I'd like to introduce you a prototype that we have been working on. I believe everybody is all familiar with all the browser in the market. The browser has been with us for the last 15 years. It's particularly good at passing 2D content. But we think that when it comes to 3D content, you will probably be using WebGL and 3.js and stuff. We think interpreted, translated, a framework like WebGL and stuff is not enough to deliver, higher polygons, higher fidelity models, etc. We think the browser engine needs a relook. So we have taken a open source browser engine and we embed our paraprocessing, CUDA-based graphics engine inside the browser, where we allow anyone that is browsing the web today. We are still backward compatible with all the 2D content, but when it comes to 3D content, it will be processed by our 3D engine faster and at 16 higher frame per second, irregardless of the number of frames, irregardless of the number of polygons you have in the model. Let's look at some of the examples that we use. We coined this geo browser, meaning a browser for planet Earth. So the browser has a simple interface, it's a search interface. You could search anything on the 2D internet, but whenever you encounter a 3D content, it will be passed separately by my embedded graphics engine inside the browser. So let's look at, search for a red car. So you get your normal Google search, but on the right, top right, it will be a 3D model of a car. So you notice that it opens up in split second, even on 4G network. So you could potentially search for anything, a space, a museum, a car, an object, a city. Right? You could click, the usual 2D search come in place, but on the right, you will have a 3D model. Any 3D model will be powered by the graphics engine embedded inside this browser. So we think this browser is going to enable more of people to create 3D because the teething problem with number of polygons restricted by the high fidelity models, high polygon count is going to be resolved with a technology like this, because inherently this browser engine is unlike any browser engine because it has a paraprocessing graphics engine embedded, such that it opens up your model faster and at 60 frames per second, slick animation without even a lag, right, over 4G network. Okay, this pretty much wrap up my presentation today. Feel free to contact me on the email and the WhatsApp. What I shared with you earlier is a revolutionary new way of creating 3D content with AI, and particularly with the mapping of entire city without drones, and also allowing humans, men in the street, people who doesn't know, the 3D scanning, expensive hardware and software stuff, they are able to take a 15-second video and upload and create a 3D content. So we believe with 5G coming, more and more interactive 3D content is going to surface. We need a mechanism for people to create all this content faster, better, cheaper. And also with our streaming 3D, we could deliver your polygons, high definition polygons, millions of polygons across any devices on your browser, on any dimension and any resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. John Lee, for the presentations. Our next speaker will be presenting on the topic of tackling challenges in vulnerability detections. Let's welcome Professor Liu Yang, CEO and co-founder of Scantis.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Liu Yang, the CEO and co-founder of Scantis. We are a local cybersecurity staff focused on application security. And today is my great honor to be part of the Huawei Developer Conference 2021. And it is my great pleasure also to introduce you our recent finding on the vulnerability detection. So when we talk about cybersecurity, traditionally, people think about network and infrastructure security, endpoint protection, and access management, and a little bit application software. However, with the trend of digitization, we can see basically software is everywhere, from website, mobile apps, to IoT applications. The more reliance on the software, it means that software needs to be secured. However, in the current industrial practice, when we talk about application security, people are talking about VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. And these are typically manual-based approach to do a black box security analysis. And because this is a very heavy and expensive process, typically VAPT is performed once per year. And then the tester tries to break the application from outside, and then the report generated is hardly to be used to fix the vulnerabilities. While the new trend to perform application security is to leverage application security testing tools. And these are automatic solutions to perform white box analysis. And because of the automation, these tools typically can be used in a daily manner. And more importantly, these tools can have in-depth integration with the software development lifecycle. And the report generated by these tools not only provide you the vulnerability information, but more importantly, the remediation and the fixes. And this diagram shows the typical application security testing tools pyramid. And this is a massive space. And today, due to the time limitation, I will not dive into the details of each of them, but rather than focusing on the fundamental ones, like the SAST, DAST, and the SCA. When we talk about SAST, it's talking about solution to automatically examine source code to detect and report weakness that can potentially lead to security vulnerabilities. And when we mention about DAST, this is technologies to run the application dynamically and with the goal to detect issues while the interface, request, response, and more. And the last one is called SCA, the full name Software Composition Analysis. And SCA tools is developed to find vulnerabilities for the third-party component, especially for the open source component used in the application. And these diagrams give you a different view about the three software application testing tools. You can see SAST is focusing on your own application code, and SCA is focusing on the open source component. And because your own code is typically 10% of the whole application, and SCA play a major part in the application security support. Well, once you have the full application, then you can run it in a dynamic manner so that you can use the DAST to find further vulnerabilities in the system. And given this landscape, and Scantis is a spin-off from the Nanyang Technological University with the focus on the applications scanning for the vulnerability for both source code and binaries. And by leveraging years of R&Ds, we have developed a couple of products. The first one is our SA solution to find known vulnerabilities in the applications from both source code and binary. And we also have a smart father, which is a DAST solution, and also our AI-based SAST to find unknown applications of unknown vulnerabilities in your own code. And in this way, we can cover all the foundations for the application security. And today, the focus of my talk will focusing on the SAA, which is to solve the so-called DevSecOps problem and with the focus of open source component. If you look at this diagram, this shows the typical software-defined life cycle and their evolution. Start from very beginning, people are trying to adopt this waterfall model. And then gradually, from 2000, with the manifesto of Agile, Agile software-defined life cycle, people now quickly move to this fast development and fast release cycles. And starting from 2015, this new concept, DevOps, started to emerge. And people trying to incorporate the IT operation concept into development so that the whole development life cycle is more managed. And this trend is highly possible. One reason is because the reuse of the open source component. And from this diagram, you can see clearly the number of open source libraries are increasing exponentially. And this gives a very good opportunity for the developers to quickly leverage the open source to develop your application. However, it also brings a downside, because if you're looking into the portion of open source in your application, around 60 to 90% of the application actually is open source component. And the vulnerability come with this open source component naturally bring the security threat to your application. And more scarily, more than 200 open source vulnerabilities are found every week. And these numbers are not just there to scare people. And actually, these vulnerabilities in the open source component lead to real security breaches. For example, the infamous Equifax breach, which led to 700 million financial loss. And they put many US users' credit information into the public. And another case is the Heartbleed vulnerability, which led to 500 million losses in the industry. And another incident is called Panama Paper, which leaked 2.1 million files into the public. And these real incidences shows that if you don't manage the vulnerability in the open source, that lead to very serious consequence. And if you think this may be one or two rare cases, these two examples shows you the vulnerability in the open source supply chain is actually creating bigger problems. In 2019 and 2011, two important open source supply chain vulnerability and malware injection into the open source component lead to very serious security consequences. So given this, we really need to pay attention to the open source component. And these slides give you the statistics summary of the threat we are facing. 1 in every 4 data breaches are due to the insecure open source component. And the largest corporate breach ever reached the number for $700 million. And the number of known vulnerabilities is more than 160,000 out there. And simply last year, 10% of them are discovered. And the most scary thing is that 76% of all the organizations in APAC has no system or processes to deal with these open source vulnerabilities. So if you're looking at these scary numbers, you may think whether, oh, this is important, but whether these things, whether I need to really worry about these numbers or whether I should do something. If you're not sure about this, let's ask these 3 questions. The first, looking into your organizations or the applications you're using, what is the open source inventories for your application? Do you know what are the open source libraries you're using? This is the first question. Second one, are you using a vulnerable open source component in your application? Do you aware any of this? The third one, are you compliant with open source licensing terms? That is, when you're using all these open source components, Do you have the concern about open source licensing problems? So now, if when you look into these three questions, if you don't have a certain number, then this talk is for you. Because the open source security risk is a very important problem. Without automatic tools, it is very, very difficult to answer these questions so that you will not be protected. And today, my main focus is to introduce the open source risk management solutions provided by Scientist. The key offering we have is the Scientist software composition analysis tools. And this tool allows you to upload the open source component into our system, and then we'll do a thorough scan and report the cybersecurity information related to the open source component you're using, and also the compliance risk potentially attached with your application. So this has become a complete offering to cover different language, different binaries, to make sure that your open source component information in your application is clear and you are under the management. So to further make the whole solution to be useful, we attached our solution into different steps of the software development life cycle. So for example, when you develop your code, we have the interface in your integrated development environment so that you can trigger the SCA scan anytime when you're writing your code. We also integrated our solution with the package managers like the GitHub, GitLab. So these interfaces allow you to check all the code you put into these source control repositories anytime for the security and compliance issues. And also our solutions can be automatically linked with the CI/CD, the continuous integration and the continuous development process, so that whenever you release your source code, you can check for security and compliance problems. And the last thing is, even your solution is deployed out there, we have the runtime monitoring to make sure your security risk is under control. So in this way, Scientist solution can proactively manage vulnerability from source code binary, from development to production, so that we can provide seamless security protection for your application. And if you have never used any application security tools, you should probably think about whether to treat Scientist SA as the first one. The reason is that, first, we have accurate results, because all the vulnerabilities are known and they can be publicly verified immediately. The second thing is that the open source vulnerabilities are more likely to be found and exploited because the code is public available, and sometimes the exploits are also public available. The third thing, the open source vulnerability allow malicious agent to break multiple applications, offer great reward. So it is easier for the attacker to make the attack. The last thing, the vulnerabilities are easy to remediate, even though you may have the risk of using open source component, but our offering will provide the remediation when we found vulnerabilities in your application, so that you can follow this remediation information to easily fix your vulnerabilities. And this is the interface of our solution. When we find a vulnerability, you can see all the detailed vulnerability information are shown in this screen. And you can easily verify them through the external link. And also, we will provide the compatibility information to show you whether this remediation of this vulnerability can be easily adopted in your application. And last but not least is that we offer the immediate remediation actions, so that you can just click some button to apply this remediation automatically in your system. And our remediation can be linked directly with Jira and GitHub issues. So this allows you to have a very easy process to remediate your vulnerabilities detected in the open source component. Beyond the traditional source code SA scan, Scientist offers the true binary vulnerability analysis. For any C libraries, Java bytecode, mobile APKs, firmwares, and even zip files, you can simply upload all this binary format information into our website, and our smart agent will scan this binary and produce the vulnerability information. And not only that, our remediation information will also provide source code level patches so that you can deploy them when you find vulnerability afterward. And from the right-hand side, you can see when we compare the Scientist solution with the Gartner Quadrant leaders, we have much better accuracy and much better recall in both the vulnerability, in terms of both open source component detected as well as the vulnerability discovered. This shows the deep IP we have in Scientist to offer credible solutions. And further, we have the in-depth visibility provided by our report. We have a dependency graph to know how the open source the vulnerabilities in the open source are introduced in your application. Sometimes when you use the open source component, the vulnerability is not the libraries you are using directly. Actually, the vulnerability is in the open source invocation toolchains. So that means down the line, maybe the third libraries used by the open source components you are using have the vulnerabilities. So our dependency graph shows exactly the dependency information for all the open source libraries related to your project and give you the vulnerability information for that. The second thing is we also have a knowledge graph which allow you to see immediately all the potential threats in your applications so that you can use the common ones to identify as the high priority one to fix. So that gives you a bird view about all the risks have existed in your organization. And another additional functionality we'll provide is this license compliance manager. So this component in our SCA solution allow the user automatically specify any licensing policies you want to enforce. And then we'll do the automatically checking for these compliance policies. So that makes the user much easier to understand how to understand different kind of licenses and how to apply the different compliance checkings for these licenses, because no one wants to dive into the license document in detail and to understand whether I should use this license or not. So this fully automatic solution allow you to make the license compliance checking with ease. And all of these things are possible because we have a very big security knowledge database. So we have totally more than 16 TB real security data in our database which covered all the major programming languages, which cover huge number of libraries and more than 30 million versions of these libraries. And in total, we have collected more than 33,000 publicly known vulnerabilities and another 37,000 hidden vulnerabilities we collected in our database. And currently, our user beyond Huawei has covered the bank industry, finance industry, and the automotive industry, and the major government and the IT houses. So this shows the diversity and the applicability of our SCA solutions. And this is my last slide. Not only we are offering the enterprise solutions, but more importantly, SCA is free for developers, because we want to make sure the application security can be conducted easily anywhere by anyone. Please simply log into the Scientist.io website to use your GitHub or GitLab credential to log in, and then you are ready to do your security scan and to manage the risk in the open source component. And even further, because of the HDC event, we gave a special promotion for whoever want to use our premium service or enterprise plan. We will offer a 50% discount. Please remember this discount code, and then you will enjoy the rich feature of our SCA solutions. That is all. Thank you very much. And we are happy to see a better world with better security guarantee, and then we have a much better ecosystem for the cybersecurity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for the presentations. Let's welcome our next speaker, Mark Chen, the head of APAC 4 Paradigm. He will be presenting digital and intelligent upgrade driven by machine learning.
Artificial intelligence is seeping into enterprise. from all directions. It's been embedded in application, software tools, device, and equipment. If organization digital transformation strategies don't already including AI, then there is a real need to revisit the overall approach to digital transformation. Hi, my name is Mark Chen, the head of Asia Pacific from Profile Times. It's my pleasure to be here sharing what we hear, what we see, and how we help as an AI company in many industries. Before we talk about AI-driven digital transformation, let's take a look at digital transformation first. Why organizations do digital transformations? We can see there's a lot of the changes. One, the business decisions. The way that you do business is changing. The customer is changing, not only from baby booming to millennials, and now Z generation, but also their lifestyle and behaviors. The competitor is changing. You are not only competing with the same competitor anymore. For example, the instant noodles company doesn't expect they got big hit from the food delivery service. The last, but not at least, technology. New technology is booming, and AI is one of the technologies accessible for every company. When it's becoming accessible, the question remains is how you apply them into your organization to gain the business advantage. Over the past decade, digital transformation has been changing and reinventing the way organizations conducting business. Essentially, it is a process of leveraging digital technology to create and modify existing customer experience, as well as business culture and processes to meet changing customer and market needs. Digital transformation is the foundational change in how an organization delivers value to its customer. Here is where artificial intelligence is possessed to become the game changers. As the catalyst in the digital transformation journey of many organizations, AI is often undervalued. However, there is no denying that as a liberating technology can help businesses become more adaptive, creative, flexible, and innovative than ever before. It can not only help businesses win new customers and mitigate risk, but also raise their profits. Over the past decades, digital transformation has been changing and reinventing the way organizations conduct business. Essentially, this is a process of leveraging digital technology to create new or modify existing customer experience, as well as business culture and processes. To meet changing customer and market needs, digital transformation is the fundamental change in how an organization believes value to its customer. It's where artificial intelligence is perceived to become the game changers. As the catalyst in the digital transformation journey of many organizations, AI is often undervalued. However, there is no denying that this liberating technology can help business become more adaptive, creative, flexible, and innovative than ever before. It can only not help businesses win new customers and mitigate the risk, but also raise their profits. So, does AI-driven digital transformation work? According to a study by Infosys, found that 98% of respondents who had leveraged AI for their digital transformation report has helped generate additional revenue for their organizations. The same study also revealed that machine learning has had the biggest impact in digital transformation by dramatically reducing the average time spent on day-to-day activities and improving decision-making while minimizing room for errors. Another study by Forrest, participated by CEO, CIO, CMO, and the VP of IT, 71% of respondents report that AI can improve business efficiency. And 59% said that it can improve scalability. The idea is to adopt an AI mindset when planning and executing a digital transformation strategy, such as how it will change the nature of a customer relationship, which differ from simply automating an existing process. Whether you are designing a new business model or your digital strategy, or even your acquisition strategy, you need to be significantly informed by where AI is taking you. So, what is happening right now? In my organization, they are already using AI in many places for years. Let me share with you what we see and what we hear from many industries. Many business users told me they have newly set up an AI office with many AI experts and AI strategy in place, or hire a chief AI officer to oversee their AI strategy along with their digital transformation plans. But when it comes down to each business department, they realize there is a big gap between business user and AI. So there's few common misunderstandings here. First one, IT department doesn't understand business. So the business user usually think about just tell them our requirement without revealing the business plan. And the second, they usually blame the IT for not providing enough support when they don't see the significant business impact. The expectation is overrated or poorly management. Don't know where the money is spent. This is what we hear a lot from the business users. So how about ITs? Let's hear the IT's voice. So we find a common misunderstanding in ITs. As long as we involve business users in AI, we are working together, we will be fine. That's very common voice from the IT. But there's a lot of other problems in the IT department. Lack of AI talent, limited scientists, and also the project timeline is usually not making align with the business. Why are AI projects so difficult to launch? Even organizations are willing to use AI, but how you apply them in your organization is another story. Here are some findings why AI projects are so hard to launch. AI is disconnected from business. Businesses don't know where the money is spent, and heavy operation work on scientists. Not mention the cost is very high that the business user usually they don't understand why we need to spend so much money on the project and waiting for so long for the business results. So we see there are a common problem of traditional AI development math in the process of enterprise digital transformations. In business, demands are not fully met. All links are separate and cannot be connected well. The AI projects in organization is separated and work in silos. High cost, like business department barely can support. Thus, we need a new way to do AI-driven digital transformations. We need to involve business experts deeply in the project to align with business expectation and to gain the real business value. An auto closed-loop AI with low cost, scalable platform can iterate quickly and support more business requirements. Now, we are helping you launch more AI projects successfully by a new math, which for paradigm hypercycle methodology define a new way to do AI. With our hypercycle methodology, we have been successful launch more than 12,000 AI projects in China, and now expanding to worldwide. We use learning cycle to help organizations build and launch AI projects in incredible speed, and also gain a real business values. The definition of a learning cycle, based on clear business target, use behavioral data, feedback data, and learning process, application, model application, loop to form machine learning and decision-making process. Actually, enterprise intelligence transformation is the process of transforming business problem to an AI learning cycle. The number of learning cycles decide the business level, where you can go up to the next level or you stay at the same comparative levels. What happens when business experts can do AI? Business experts can define and build AI. They can transfer business problem to AI problem accurately and maximize the value of the AI. Look at this example. When we take a picture in the old days, we use an old camera and we ask the professional photographer to take a good picture for us. But now with the automatic camera and with the industrial manual guidelines, you can easily take a good picture by yourself. So this is the concept. We are trying to help our client to adopt this by the closed loop AI modeling platforms to build the AI projects in efficient way and in agile. So you can see on the screens how we can connecting AI with the business user, just with a 4-step. Create a learning cycle, upload sampling data, training, and launch. Business user can really involve with the AI project and working with IT department to deliver business value before launching and after launching. So in the screen, you can see how easily business user can manage their own AI projects in visualized platforms and also just one click to go launch. You can see the entire AI portfolios. Our product and capability gradually cover all aspects of the AI ecosystem in which organization is doing AI-driven digital transformation. At the beginning, 4Paradigm mainly provide customers with machine learning platform products. And then we began to explore upward to reach business and help organizations find the business value of AI. At the same time, we also explore downwards, establish an operation system based on standard and specifications, and providing an economically feasible computing power to organization. On the screen, you can see it's like the infrastructure you use, a computing power platform, and plus with a Windows operation system. And it's easily provide the environment and ecosystem to help you to build any AI model and AI projects in Agile. So an organization with a digital transformation plan, they can have their AI strategy to plan and make each piece of their AI projects align with the business goals. Let me go through 2 cases in FSI and retail. An AI-first bank framework proposed by McKinsey. Our AI operation system as a foundation to support its bank on security data and model operation. Help them build and leverage our out-of-the-box AI capability to support the business need in their domains, customer analytics, risk management, and operation efficiencies. With this new approach, the bank is able to develop and launch AI project in Agile, and also within the 2 years, it's become most significant project in organizations. A top China retail brand is now using our approach to develop AI capability in 4 business domains, including marketing, intelligence store, intelligence service, and business operations. It generates incredible business value and it's become one of the most famous successful digital transformation company in retail in China. So today, I hope it could give you a glance on the AI-driven digital transformation powered by 4Paradigms. Please reach out to me if you have any question. Thank you very much.
That's an interesting presentation. Thank you, Mark. Now, let's proceed to the next topic. Design immersive platform from SaaS to PaaS. Presented by Ender Zhang, the CEO and founder of HyperLab. Ender, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Ender. I'm the founder of HyperLab. Today, I'd like to share with you how does our company design the immersive platform from SaaS to PaaS. It is a few years journey. Let's start from where we are now. HyperLab is actually a Singapore's startup company. We're focusing on digital transformations using emerging technologies. In the past few years, our company has established the whole process of running a full AR, VR, and MR type of solution and platforms. We have been focusing a lot on producing the value for education, communication, and operation. Starting from a local team in Singapore, today we actually are running in 10 locations around Asia, having served more than 100 clients, blue chip audience, and also having a massive media coverage. We are building a strong influence as product and technical-driven enablers in the region. To all those clients we have been serving, and since a lot of clients, they are running essential service like shipping, logistics, manufacturing, and also finance and ICT telco. There's a lot of clients, they are looking at how do they convert the traditional interactions, user experiences, and customer experiences into something more like engaging, into a bit more digital. For our solution, have been widely adopted in each sector for a slightly different diverse agenda. When we look at the key thing of immersive technologies, there are different value propositions we are pursuing. Firstly, we look at marketing and communication. We are all aware that after the COVID, the travel restrictions has been limiting a lot of how does company doing the marketing and communications, business presentations, and showcasing and meetings. Especially we talk about presenting facilities, presenting environment, machines, and also understand how does it really introduce solutions to different stakeholders in the region. This kind of limitations is kind of restricting how does business really operate properly. And meanwhile, as training education sectors, we also realize that there's a lot of a large group of operations trainings has been limited because access is a kind of limited. Nowadays, we cannot really travel easily. And also it's very time-consuming, expensive to arrange the training logistic. And lastly, we look at operations. We actually seeing a lot of legacy systems. They are kind of working isolated, and the operational data is not really integrated. And we feel that the kind of demand and desire of having data to be more transparent, to be more like collaborative, is kind of important for us to drive immersive technologies to produce value for them, especially to produce alternative or even more advancing user interface. But what actually is supporting the user interface, it is the kind of data process that we're able to streamline. And for us, for each sectors, we have been producing a different type of value proposition. For example, for training, we have been driving a lot of data-driven training solutions for the user who actually involved in immersive training, beyond having those intuitive, engaging, simulated experiences. The operations officers are also able to see the track record of all this training data. So they know that the user behaviors, they know the learning challenges in the quantities. So eventually we deploy the whole solutions. You just need to deploy once, then you can massively deploy to different department, different region. In the marketing and communications, our clients actually actively look at accessible product, which we are also offering. We actually have a full product line, covers different type of communication natures, like presentations, like showcasing, and like online meetings. We feel that it's important to provide our user a capability to actually continue with whatever they are able to do before COVID until to this stage, to even make it better and more engaging. And lastly, in the operation domain, we actually have our own spatial data visualization solution, which allow the user to create a whole digital twin level of solutions to monitor, to access, to actually collaborate and control. And so all these value propositions is able to drive the whole world to be more connected. When we look at what's the future of the whole immersive technology industry, we can identify a few major movements. Firstly, the knowledge of immersive tech. If you go beyond expert to everyone. If you look at today, the low-code frameworks allow people to easily have some hands-on logic interactions with a graphic coding interface. They can easily create some simple program, simple functions for their organization. The same thing will also happen to immersive technology. The platforms, the softwares, it should be a lot more open to allow users to easily create interactive experiences without learning the in-depth knowledge of coding. Meanwhile, when you look at experiences, it should also go beyond a solo experiences. We should look at a lot more well-connected multi-user experiences, can deploy, can create conversations, can create more interactions between the real human. Then that kind of conversation, that kind of engagement is also able to build the solid connections between different users and also can solid the value proposition of the solution. And at last, when you look at the whole ecosystem, we are also seeing the movement of different stakeholders, different ecosystem players. They are opening the protocol. They are creating either the open API movement. They are also creating a lot of accessible development kit to people to always look at building applications, building program on top of it. So the whole infrastructure is getting a lot more ready, and we are seeing a lot more users who are well educated, who are more like driven and motivated to build content can be deployed to themselves and to the other users. And the trend is moving towards the direction to make the whole immersive technology to be a lot more accessible. For us, we always believe that the value is something we want to address and we want to follow, we want to lead. So start from 2018, our company started to build the very first product is a SaaS product. The reason why we want to build our SaaS product is because we want to make sure the technology is accessible. The first SaaS product we have built is called StoryHive. It's an immersive learning program which allows people to learn from mobile or from a VR device in the immersive environment. To enable the whole concept to reality, what we have to do is firstly we have to create an editor. The editor will allow anyone, actually they can build their own immersive experiences at home. And from that portion, we look at how do we start. The user will either start from a PC program, or start from a web application, or start from some like tablet device. Eventually, we want to make sure that the accessibility, we actually are able to push to maximum. So we try to go with web portal. A web portal allows users to upload all this content, all these media interactions, and edit everything from a browser without using any installation. And this is also because in today's corporate world, there's a lot of restrictions from IT department. In today's world, there's a lot of limitations from IT department which doesn't allow the audience, the user, to install a third-party applications as an EX file in their laptop. So I think for us, to make sure that the whole experience is accessible, web process is probably the best one. So for us, we push ourselves towards making a web portal to allow users to upload, edit, process, encode, and eventually synchronize everything towards the end client. End client device will be a mobile application which can be deployed to Google Play, App Store, or even like VR platforms. And this process will require very intense network infrastructures to support multi-users, large scale of media to be processed online and processed offline. Firstly, you look at how do we create whole web portal. If you look at immersive technology, the media we are dealing with is usually photo, video, 3D models, and animations. Especially we talk about the immersive video, which is a 360-degree video. 360 video is very different from a traditional 2D video. A traditional 2D video, usually the resolution will go up to 2000, 2K, because that's a common laptop or monitor's resolution. But for 360 video, the minimum resolution is 4K. And you can go up to 8K or 16K, depends on the capturing device. And the bandwidth of the media files will go even beyond 100 Mbps. And well, the current like YouTube video live streaming bandwidth requirement is only 2 to 5 Mbps. So we are dealing with 10 times of higher bandwidth, higher bitrate, and 5 times or 6 times more like the resolution. And this kind of media, if you want to process this on the web, you actually have to deal with a large-scale, heavy request and by multi-user. Because once you build this protocol to online versions, once you allow everyone to keep uploading files, keep like processing files with the same portal, then you have to understand that this portal need to be strong enough to handle consistent, frequent requests time to time, and need to be always on, always reliable. So I think to respond to this, we actually look at different type of solutions. So of course, very commonly, we can always start with a static IP hosting storage solution, which we can buy a server. The server will give us certain capabilities. For example, the RAM, the CPUs as a storage, and also the IP address, and also as the bandwidth. But after you look at the static storage service, we realize there's a critical challenge. It's about scalability. So after the comparison, we look at how do we able to ensure that we are able to scale up the system when the users are scaling. No matter if there's 10 users, 100 users, thousands users. When we look at all these inquiries, we should be able to quantify the inquiry to specific variables. For example, requests per minute. For example, bandwidth per user. For example, caching times. For example, RAM allocated for each user. And the traditional static IP storage service doesn't provide us this whole control. And not to mention those other protocols like securities, monitorings, and scalabilities of the multiple machines as well. So after we've done the research, we realized that we have to look at something totally different. It's cloud-based structure. It's called Elastic Cloud Service. Elastic Cloud Service is called ECS, which is similar like VM, but deployed on cloud. This kind of ECS service, you can easily scale up because whenever you start to configure it, everything happens from a dashboard. You can control the OS, you can control the installations, configurations, and even you can consider like how much storage you want to start and how much you want to scale in the future. You can even define the majority storage and the secondary storage. So they will give you very flexible pricing structures for us to decide what's the most reasonable way. So sometimes you can put the majority computing applications maybe in the high pacing VM. Meanwhile, you have other buckets to deal with low frequency, low crest kind of computing process applications. For us, after we deploy the ECS, it actually gives us very good advantage. Firstly, the storage is scalable. If you want to start with something like maybe 20, 40 gigabyte as a ECS, we can always start anytime. Then after that, we can look at, okay, I want to scale up after a few months. It doesn't really ask us to reinstall anything. It just simply add on the storage on top of it. But meanwhile, it also gives us a flexible bandwidth control. So sometimes when there's an event happens, we know there's a new like user events or launching event that's going to drive a lot of users to the platform, we are able to go to the dashboard to control how much more bandwidth we want to allocate to this event to the day. We just need to pay a little bit for the days for the usage. Then we can immediately get double or triple type of bandwidth for that event. Meanwhile, all these monitoring notification systems is actually give us live control. Whenever we have events or like user campaigns, that we are able to monitor the live performance of all the CPUs, RAMs, bandwidth, storage, the percentage of the usage of the whole system. That we are able to always set a threshold to give us notifications, give us auto scalability functions. Meanwhile, the original like backup solutions like snapshot, it can allow us to always keep having an auto snapshot every few days. Then we can always choose, okay, I want to choose, maybe I have keep a snapshot for a few months. Before 3 months ago, then all the snapshot, we can also automatically expire them. So we always have a multiple backup in the system. We don't have to worry about how to set up this. And also the cloud-based security management using the security group, it also helps us to manage the multiple teams development. Imagine that now we are running the operation and development team in multiple countries. You want to give some team a development process to do the test environment development. But meanwhile, you want to have your main team managing the whole IT security. You can set up IAM user for the user to install and test out. Then after that, you can deploy from a central team. And those dynamic features allow us to really scale up by having a multiple team operating and developing the same applications. And meanwhile, we can look at the launching the product in different stage using a one central system. And now we want to talk about how do we deploy the users' experiences. As an immersive technology, usually the media like 3D and 360 content, it is very heavy. So at the time, back to 2018, we always feel that mobile is actually the best device to process those media, because we want to make sure that users are able to enjoy the original quality of the media. Usually on the browser, it's very unlikely you can stream video footage as 50 MB backwards. So on mobile, what you can do is you can cache it, you can download it, then you can play back. So once you play back the 4K resolution of 360 video, you can get a mass resolution. That's actually something we want users to enjoy. So for mobile, usually what we are looking at is we want to make sure that no matter how many users we have, they can always enjoy the equivalent similar bandwidth to the media we are hosting, which is actually almost impossible if you are just using a traditional VM service. Because you imagine you have this media file, which is about 1 gigabyte. It's very common file size in immersive technologies domain. So this 1 gigabyte file is hosted on one specific IP with one specific bandwidth. Then we have 4 to 5 users calling the same media file together. The server has to cache it to the RAM. So if you have a VM, which you only have 8 gigabytes RAM, imagine you have a 1 media file, which is about 1 gigabyte file. So this file size is very common in immersive tech domain, because this is considered a 4K resolution video for like 10 to 15 minutes. And you're hosting this video on the cloud, on the storage, which you want people to access this video by multiple instances, which means at the same time you want 5 to 6 users to download the same video from this VM, which is unlikely happening, because for every user want to just activate a downloading process, the server have to cache the file, and they actually have to process the encoding and downloading process. If you have 4 to 5 users download the same file together, you will firstly eat up the RAM up to 4 to 5 gigabyte. And the standard VM, you only have maybe max to 8 gigabyte as a RAM, which can easily occupy. Imagine you have a media file with a size that's as big as 1 gigabyte. 1 gigabyte is not really very rare in immersive tech domain because usually we are dealing with 4K video for 10 to 15 minutes. It is easily go up to 1 gigabyte. If you have 5 to 6 users requesting same file from same storage service, then each of them, they have to be allocated by 1 gigabyte of bandwidth. And meanwhile, which means the server has to prepare 5 to 6 gigabytes in the RAM first to process the file. In the standard conventional VM service, it's unlikely it's happening because usually the RAM of VM is only maybe 2 to 4 gigabytes. And how do we deal with this request? And second, the user doesn't really like heavy storage. Sometimes the user want to have some like streaming files. If the file is too heavy, they want to have an option. They can really live preview, live streaming, which means every user, they have to have a consistent connection to actually maintain the same bandwidth of streaming this file. How can we make it happen? After we've done a lot of research, we realized that there's actually one solution from cloud service, which is called OBS. OBS, the full name is Object Storage Service, which allow users to convert the traditional storage in the VM to a storage service. Means the object itself has an independent bandwidth, has an independent access point, which the user can always download it by themselves. And for every single instance which access this object, there will be a dedicated bandwidth, independent bandwidth, be allocated to this user. This is very ideal for you are hosting a massive media in the library, then you don't know which media, which file is going to be requested by the user. So in any instance, the user might have a random request to download different media, but they are dealing with every media as an independent bandwidth, independent access, which means the media, it doesn't really limit each other. They don't really take the same bandwidth channel at all. So that's really good, because for us, when we store, usually we store thousands of media files, video files, and 3D files online. But once we store everything into this storage service, another advantage is the storage itself is free. You only charge based on traffic. So when the user requests this downloading process, then that's where the cost will happen. So if you want to host a lot of media, make sure that we have accessible library online, you can imagine that you can almost hold everything for free, but only when users use it. I think this is pretty much aligned with our business model. We want to make sure that our user is able to use the media. If they are not using this, they are not paying us. And meanwhile, we are also not paying the cloud service. I think that's very ideal for this kind of structure. And for us, after we look at these directions, we also start to develop a few mini functions on this OBS to allow some automations. For example, when the user starts to upload something, they are able to automatically transfer the files, convert files, encode files, and like zip files. So those processes will help us to distribute the package in a more compressed way. It's more effective. So OSS2 gives us all these flexibilities. It helps us to convert the traditional like storage kind of service into a very scalable full library type of business. And after we apply this, we realize that, okay, now we have something very universal. We have a very good storage scalable service structure. We have those kind of instance VMs like ECS, which help us deploy the program with more scalability. Then we realize we actually can do more than that. Because if you look at how the user interact with immersive media, they might have different applications. Maybe sometimes they want to use something for AR, augmented reality, in 3D model. Sometimes the user might want to look at a 360 video to have a full immersive experiences. Sometimes the user might just want to see something from web. So different application, you may end up by using different program. But the media, the kind of like source code they are using might be the same. So after that, we realized, oh, maybe what we can do is we can deploy different application for the user to interact with. But meanwhile, all these applications is calling the universal backend structures, which has been deployed on the cloud. So as it starts from last year, during the COVID, our team has been developing a few products. So like for example, RealityCast is a product we deploy for AR broadcasting. It can allow users to do live broadcasting with AR feature. And the Hub is a virtual collaboration platform which allows users to collaborate from AR, from VR. They can actually see each other's avatar. They can talk to each other. They can also interact with sharing models, drawing, doing sketchings. It basically creates a virtual collaboration room. And Cloud Expo is the latest product which allows users to create their own virtual showcase, virtual tour by themselves. And each of these products has slightly different deployment. Like some of them is app-based, some of them web-based, and some of them using 360 video, some of them using 3D model. The good thing is all this backend media request calling, user management is actually calling from a central platform itself. And so for us, having a very established ECS to OBS structure, it allows us to deploy multiple products in one shot. So further down, we look at how do we make sure our platform, our solution is a bit more accessible. So we want to look at something go beyond SaaS, we call it PaaS. So we look at PaaS, which is platform as a service. We should go something just beyond having a user to use the product itself. We want to make sure the user is able to develop something on top of it. So one of the capabilities we are able to deploy is we are already abstracting some of the features into a cloud-based functions. It can be based on API calls, it can be based on some requests, it can be based on some instance the user can deploy. So for example, we are able to comprise or abstract the whole media libraries into a plugin. So for another new product, the user can use our plugin to deploy in their product. So they can have this JavaScript kind of plugin, they can integrate it into a website, so they can build their own immersive content management system as well. So all these solutions, it is benefited by having a whole platform level structure. So by having a PaaS as a business model, we are able to centralize the user's access, user's data to deploy to different applications. And this concept can be used by our client. They can involve in working with us, not only as a client, but also as a developer to build their solutions. So today, we already built a few different types of PaaS model on the central platform. We have a media library, we have NLP service, which is built on top of the other NLP library, but meanwhile we are able to automate the NLP knowledge-based creations. And we also have our own dedicated streaming frameworks, which allow users to build their own streaming applications with us. And all these media libraries, NLP, and streaming frameworks, all the front-end service, actually is utilizing the back-end service, which has been built from original cloud base. So a series of services that we have been deploying from central platform, for example, like media management, digital asset management, and also data analysis and NLP, quite a few things. Some of them is because we have been developing the specific features can deploy it from cloud. And some of them, they actually come from cloud. So look at nowadays, the cloud service is providing us a new capabilities, for example, analysis. Video analysis, audio analysis, which is actually the service that you actually can just immediately get it. It's an offshore solution. You can use it to analyze your content. For example, when you are managing a media content, you may have a lot of content that you have to go through a review process. The traditional process is you have to hire someone to keep doing the review manually, look at frames. But on cloud, you can process it automatically to set up some threshold, maybe some violence threshold, some like specific patterns that the cloud will just run for you. They will actually prompt to you whichever something like a go beyond threshold that you can pay attention to it to do a further analysis. And also, if you look at the structure itself, most of cloud service, they already have this hybrid cloud solution. So we can do like a public cloud, we can do on-premise cloud. So for us, when you look at using public cloud, we are able to deploy a same instance into a different kind of a bucket, into a different environment, because they are sharing the same kind of OS. And having all this support as a backend, which allows to produce a SaaS product line. And for us, the SaaS to PaaS product structure is something we are very happy that we have been developing the past 2 years, and by benefiting the cloud support. We believe that the future of our world are being more hyper-connected with the spatial information. The spatial information allows you to see everything with a lot more transparency. Whenever you look at the physical environment, physical object, you're able to see through the physical structures, look at what's the information behind it. All these capabilities is possible because immersive tech is growing. It's actually starting to build intelligence, understanding of the world by understanding objects, understanding locations, understanding videos. But more important is, it is able to scale up wherever the algorithm is being deployed. It can scale up to different locations, to different environment, which the cloud structure is able to make it happen. When we look at the future of the digital world, we have been observing a lot of significant trends that from our client. Some of clients, they actually start to look at the hybrid cloud. They want to have structures like applications public and also on-prem. And sometimes they want to make sure that all the applications deploy to the intranet. And the client that start to equip their knowledge by setting up their own cloud service. For us, we realize that all this demand requires us to make sure that our applications are able to deploy with a bit more flexibility in terms of structure. But what is holding the core part is actually the OS, its dependencies. And meanwhile, our clients also look at how can they have something more than software as a service. They are looking at something like a platform or something even like architecture. Because if the client want to build some applications by themselves, they probably prefer to get a consultant, get a partner to set up infrastructure, and they will be able to build interface and user interaction in front of it. So architecture itself, it becomes very critical that it might be a future service as well. And our client also have a lot of kind of ownerships, as now you know that all these PDPA kind of challenges have been raised. And for data collections by third party, it might no longer be so feasible. And if the client, they want to have their own access to build their data ownership, they want to try to isolate all the deploy environment from external parties, they want to own everything. In that case, the third party, the solution providers, they have to look at how can they produce a shell solution which they can deploy and they can own the raw data to actually process the data by themselves without getting any third party to touch it. And of course, the third party also have to provide service like even the computing service. They have to look at how do they compute the data, like building the data warehouse, building the data lake. All these things have to build based on more like universal data structure so the client can pick it and plug and play. And we also realize that there's a lot of applications that are going to be replaced by web, like mini apps or web apps. All these trends is able to build a slightly different front end, but it's a lot more friendly, a lot more accessible for the user to try different interactions. And eventually, we also look at the movement of 5G and Wi-Fi 6. All these different protocols, they are building a new entry for the user. For example, retail store owners, they might try to encourage people to use Wi-Fi because they have to control, while the telco might encourage people to use 5G because they own the spectrum. So different type of access will actually requires the service provider to understand your infrastructure, your service. It should be flexible, regardless of the infrastructure limitation. For us, we look at how can we adapt to this change. Firstly, we want to containerize the product itself. So containerization is not a new concept, but immersive technology, it is relatively new because people have been used to do a lot of software as a direct solution or SaaS as a solution. But when we talk about containerization, we talk about we want to abstract the whole product, including maybe the front end, including the back end, and make it as an image. This image can be deployed whenever the client has a new instance, when there's probably a new user, they want to allocate a new VM. Instead of launching a new VM, configure a new VM, which will take a few hours, you might launch a slightly new instance, just new image, which only takes you a second. And because the container itself, it will actually able to shrink the whole program to only a megabyte level. And second, when we look at the solution we are providing, we may not be able to control the network at all. We have to tell the client that, whatever network condition you have, we actually have some flexibility. So we have to build the protocol of your application into a very universal protocol. And lastly, the client might not really want to buy your solution directly. They may want to buy the solution from the cloud service provider. So we look at the marketplace, you can look at whether you can deploy the solution as an application that you can publish to the cloud marketplace when the user can just plug and play to pay directly. So in that case, the cloud provider will be able to help you to provide all this support like security support, management support, user support, while you just focus on your own applications. And we actually start to build some first steps. This year, we start to containerize our structure. We use the Docker image to containerize our APIs, our database, our HTML servers, the front end, the Nginx kind of server setup. Then all these things we make an image which can package with the dependencies and the OS so we can deploy it instantly. And meanwhile, we're also developing our universal API gateway to allow the user to call more like direct service from our platform. I think when we look at the future of the world, the whole digital infrastructures is going to shape the future. our view space is limited. We can only interact with that much screens, we can only touch that much physical objects. But you look at introducing and interacting with the information in spatial environment, there's no boundaries. And we believe that the whole platform and solutions that can be built by immersive technology is able to help people to define how and what to interact in the future, and how do they absorb and process and interact and even make decisions. And we believe that all these capabilities, it is only possible when we have a clear, scalable cloud structures that's supporting the world. And this is very good that we have opportunity to work with Huawei Cloud to help us to build capabilities from the cloud service room like ECS and OBS. We hope that there will be a lot more capabilities that we can collaborate on this journey.
Thank you, Ander. Here comes the last speakers for today's APAC sessions. Please welcome Eric Liu, CTO of Verspatial. He will be sharing how a digital twins provides a single unified point of integrations to surface non-homogeneous data at multiple scales.
Hi everyone, my name is Eric Liu. I'm the CTO of Verspatial Technologies. And today I would like to introduce how digital twins are providing a single unified point of integration into non-homogeneous data at multiple scales. So quickly to introduce what Verspatial does. So we work on digital twins as well as spatial computing technologies. So an introduction about how spatial computing technologies can actually benefit you as well as the physical and digital world is actually from the human-computer interactive element. So for example, there is a digital world and a physical world. But unfortunately, in the physical world, there's a lot of limitations. For example, there's no way to understand all of the information in the digital realm that surrounds us. So for example, in any room, any physical room, there's electricity going on, there's water flowing all around you. There's, for example, even from this position to the next, the temperature might change, right? However, from the digital realm, all of that is data, and this is exactly what we do. We enable users in different domains to understand and to realize and to visualize, as well as simulate what it means to become a digital twin, as well as from the full life cycle of whether it's a smart city or a smart factory. These are the technologies that we can enable our customers to enjoy. So a quick history and evolution of spatial computing and digital twins. First of all, maybe many of you have heard of DOS, Microsoft DOS from the 1980s era. So DOS was actually a very simple command line prompt. And then of course, we would actually use keyboards, right? Keyboards to interact with the computer. And you would actually give it command line arguments, right? To actually get back information. And of course, at that time, very few people understood the commands like dir or rm or mv, right? These days, a lot of people on Linux platform would actually still utilize this because it's actually quicker for them. However, as sort of time went on and I would say graphics as well as hardware improved, we came into the PC graphics operating era of Windows in the 1990s. And at that time, of course, that's very two-dimensional, right? But it did enable us humans to actually interact with computers at a much, much better pace. So for example, if I wanted to open, even to this day, right, with Windows and Mac OS, if we wanted to open something on a desktop, you would immediately understand that, hey, all these files are grouped into different folders, and then you can drag and drop different parts of your operating system as well as file system onto another. So of course, during that time, it enabled humans to actually have a much better understanding of how to operate and to utilize computers. And then they, of course, at that time, right, there are other applications that actually ran inside the operating systems. Whether that's at that time Lotus 1-2-3, which these days the successor is Excel, or any other types of applications that are specific for the domain knowledge and that worked on very different types of files for their domains. that is exactly how things progressed. So now we move to sort of this era, right? In the apps, in the app operating system, in mobile operating systems. And of course, before the smartphone, everything, if you needed to access information, was still really attached to sort of desktop PCs. But of course, from the 2010s and 2020 eras, now everything is mobile, right? As well as everything's done on the cloud. Because there's no way, for example, a mobile phone, you can have all of your information on it, right? These days, it's all about taking, photos, videos, very, very heavy data. And this data has to utilize the cloud. And this is why I want to sort of preface this conversation by saying that we're working with Huawei very closely and utilizing their whole cloud infrastructure to deliver our content as well as our applications to the end customers. So now I wanted to quickly bridge over to the spatial computing era. So everything that I mentioned before, from DOS to Windows to mobile devices, was actually in 2 dimensions. When we talk about spatial computing, right, everything happens around you in the physical world. And when I talk about spatial computing, it's really about 3 dimensions, right? Because we are humans and we see things utilizing our 2 eyes in 3 dimensions in stereo ways. So when it comes to spatial computing, this is exactly what we're focused on, right? Whether that means utilizing an AR glasses or HMD, or maybe using even a mobile phone to experience really what is going on around you and to visualize it. That's really what we're focused on. And of course, these days, very large companies, including Huawei, Microsoft, even Facebook, Apple, Google, they're very focused on this as well, because it is the next generation of computing, really. So when it comes to digital twins, it's very similar. The whole progress from sort of digital twins when it became data to these days where we can actually utilize the beginnings of a digital era. For example, a CAD file. Right? A CAD file is born inherently digital. And once we can actually prove that we can actually use this throughout the entire life cycle, from planning to prototyping to construction, and finally to maintenance and operations, that's really the key thing about digital twins, as well as how do we actually access this information. So some application use cases in smart manufacturing that Verspatial is really focused on. For example, we did a very, I would say, landmark project with Nokia. And we actually created a whole digital twin of their production factory in Suzhou. And we helped them really understand not only that because everything was born digital, they already had CAD models of their assembly lines, right? They already had CAD models of their equipment, right? We utilized this and quickly created a digital twin and optimized our whole dashboard and command center so that even management can quickly see what is going on with their factory and can quickly actually leverage this platform to actually control things from their assembly line. So this really solved quite a lot of problems from their perspective, right? Because it's, like I said, the whole life cycle is really key. From the production of, let's say, whatever Nokia is producing, all the way to sort of the sales perspective, right? If we can actually enable their salespeople to quickly show their customers the digital twin version of what is being produced on the assembly line, as well as you can do explosions of the digital model to show them the parts, the components of it. It's a lot more convincing than, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation or a brochure. So this is, again, once things are born digital, we have to be able to provide our customers access to it, understanding of how it actually benefits their entire life cycle. So another application is in smart cities. So one of the key things that we did was actually a digital twin platform for a city in China. And originally, these smart city projects can last between 2 and 12 months, if not more, depending on how sophisticated a digital twin city is, and also how many number of digital dynamic sensors and integration points, right? And again, all of this data that comes from, let's say, a smart city, right, has to go through something, right? And ideally, it has to go through the cloud, because the cloud computation is just exponentially more and better, right, and scalable than basically what we're used to from the traditional sense. So, for example, all of the data that gets sort of streamed over to the cloud has to go through a lot of processing, a lot of computation, right? We utilize Huawei Cloud for a lot of different perspectives, not just for storing data, but also for retrieving data, right? For utilizing edge devices to save onto that, as well as utilizing sort of the machine learning and computational power and scalability of the cloud is really the key thing that enables a lot of these technologies and different file formats to coalesce together into a much more powerful and spatial and just overall visually perspective. So again, when it came to the smart city applications, we allowed our clients, that's actually the city, to remote visualize the operations and maintenance of their personnel, of their water treatment facilities, of the garbage trucks. We have GPS locators on the garbage trucks, as well as dash cams, to basically see and visualize exactly where people are, where the trucks are, how far they've gotten, and how far they're going. So that really enabled, right, utilizing the power of the cloud enabled our customers to experience something that's never been done before, right? Because you can imagine a lot of our smart city projects are actually, terabytes, if not sometimes petabytes worth of data that needs to be actually either stored or streamed in, right? Because we all understand that whether it's private businesses or our government, more and more people are actually open to the fact that a public cloud is okay to use, right? And we really want to empower our users to say that, hey, you can do so much more utilizing cloud technologies, as well as our full stack capabilities in the cloud to enable them to understand, visualize, and interact with much better operational and product-based stories. So those are the two use cases that Verspatial is really focused on. So like I said, digital manufacturing, as well as smart cities for the digital twins. So some of the future digital twin, I would say, forecast and tech trends actually is from Deloitte. So one of the key things, the trend number 8, was digital twins. And the digital twin market actually, from Market and Markets in a July 2019 report, said that this market is going to be worth over $35.8 billion US by 2025. And for example, digital twin technology, it's going to change the way of predictive maintenance of products and equipment. So you can imagine that once you actually integrate and understand and basically utilize machine learning algorithms to see the historical data of all of the sensors, you can actually become more predictive, right? And you can actually understand, hey, is this piece of, let's say, machinery going to need a replacement or a maintenance within the next X number of days or weeks? Well, utilizing digital twin technologies as well as AI algorithms in the cloud can enable our customers to experience this immediately. So in the long run, right, if we want to realize the full potential of the digital twin technologies and ecosystem, we really have to integrate a lot of different technologies, right? Whether that means hardware or whether that means utilizing Huawei Cloud to enable our customers to experience this. This is really the key thing, right? Because there's no way that you can run an entire city or entire factory utilizing just one workstation. No, there's no way. Just too much data and too much processing power is required. That's why we partnered with Huawei to really deliver this. So in the end, right, in the future, every person or thing has its own digital twin, right? And when it comes to platform level products, empowering our various user scenarios across all industries is quite possible. And of course, we really want to create more meaningful blends of physical and digital experiences to engage customers. So going back to sort of our challenges when it came to understanding how to create bigger and wider breadth digital twins, right? Number one was really to meet the needs of a cloud deployment from various customers. So we need to have a cloud service provider that had full stack capability whether it's infrastructure, IaaS, or as a PaaS, or from a database perspective. We really needed to understand what is possible already so that we can latch on without developing our own solutions and services. This is really key. Number two, the cloud needed to be robust and needed to be reliable and with high performance to make sure that our signature platform, our spatial platform applications are available 24/7, 365 for our customers, right? Because no matter what, it's about responsiveness, right? These days, our customers as well as ourselves, we get annoyed if we actually don't have access to the data immediately. So this is why when it comes to digital twins, it needs to be always available. And this is why the power of the cloud is really unique. For example, we also have our internal servers, but the thing is, what if it's down or our VPN is broken or something is messed up? Then it's not going to be up. So that's why we rely on the power and reliability of Huawei Cloud. So number three challenge, digital twin. It's a combination of various technologies, as I've said, from different domain expertise. And the ecosystem is really the key to success. So this is why we needed a partner that had strong and healthy relationships with many partners that can really enhance our capabilities. And number four challenge was comprehensive after-sales support is really required for different branches in different countries and regions. And this is why we love working with Huawei, because of course, we have a lot of projects also in China that we've already proven, whether it's smart cities or smart manufacturing, we already actually support Huawei over here. So if we can actually quickly deploy elsewhere, whether it's different countries or regions, that is exactly what we're looking for. So this is the key thing, right? Where sort of the developer relations or the support that we get from Huawei is really key. And that really made our decision a lot easier. So again, just looking at the larger picture and the architecture, right? Huawei Cloud becomes a critical part of our Verspatial solutions architecture. So it's really future-proof, right, and future-oriented, because we wanted a world-class hybrid cloud solution. And of course, we needed trustworthiness, right, and leading technology. And this is why, we love utilizing the power of Huawei Cloud. Because all of this data, like I said, whether it's terabytes worth of data that's actually, beamed over from 5G, or maybe it's local data, right, Ethernet, right, based, or whether it's Wi-Fi. All of this, whether it's CAD, CCTV camera streams, BIM, GIS information, IoT, like I mentioned, all of this needs some place to enable themselves, right? Our technologies at Verspatial actually add spatial indexing. We do the 3D rendering. We actually utilize cloud 3D rendering as well for our customers that actually don't have, I would say, the GPU power, right? The 3D capabilities on their thin devices, right? So this is where somewhere else that we utilize so that we can actually give, choice to our customers. And of course, finally, when you move to the application level, as you see, from city planning to construction to management, or maybe it's manufacturing digitalization, right? Or maybe it's specifically for the EDU space, for education space. We have a cross-platform technology that can deliver to their command centers, right? Whether it's for government or deliver directly on browser level, or tablets or mobile phones, as well as XR devices. All of this is enabled because of the time-saving technology of utilizing the cloud. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody. Hopefully this brief introduction into what we do, as well as digital twins, was very useful and made you think a little bit more about all the data that surrounds you. Thanks again, really appreciate working with Huawei, and looking forward to a much bigger and better success. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Eric. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you again tomorrow on the 26th of April. By then, have a nice one. Bye-bye.